if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the monster.
You're listening to the Breadwinner Energy Podcast with your host, Tay Daniels. Tay started her business 10 years ago with $100, wrecked credit at 7 months pregnant. Today, she scaled 2 multi-six-figure businesses and runs a global empire helping Black sheep women turn their ashes into intellectual property and their wounds into wealth. Tune in every week for raw, unedited episodes on becoming a wealthy woman, thought leader, and empire builder. Learn how lived experience becomes power, purpose, and your wealth empire. Welcome to Breadwinner Energy. Let's fucking go. Welcome back to another episode of the Breadwinner Energy Podcast. Oh, today is going to be such a good topic, but it's also going to be a topic that most women in business, most mothers, most women who want freedom and success and a lot of money while also wanting to raise kids and do other things with your life need to hear. This is an episode that I have needed to hear for probably most of my business career, most of motherhood. And things have changed so drastically for me, like a switch. I moved to a new city in January of this year. We're now in March of 2026. And my life has literally been night and day difference since moving here, but it wasn't the move. I've just noticed it since we've moved, but it was a slow burn, a slow death and rebirth from summer of 2024 until now that has created every single thing I'm going to talk to you about today. Before we get into today's episode, which is all about what this episode is about, Unleashed is March 23rd through the 25th, which is next week, Monday through Wednesday. I'm hosting 3 90-minute sessions teaching you how to fully be unleashed from your business. Unleashed from feast and famine cycles, up and down with income, being able to be fully unleashed from visibility, from needing to constantly be in your business in order to make money, be constantly tied to social media and posting every day and constantly showing up and constantly feeding the machine. So much so that you don't have a life. So much so that you are totally tied to every client's journey, tied to money, like literally tied to every aspect of business. And all of you, most of you, I would say probably all of you have got into business for 3 things. One of those things is fucking freedom. But you have convinced yourself that you are quote unquote free because you're not at a 9-to-5, but mentally you are living in mental warfare 24/7 because you are not free at all. You don't have freedom. You are tied to the next post, the next piece of content, growing, making more money, the next client, the current clients. Like you are mentally and physically tied so much to your business that you hardly take time off. When you do, you're constantly thinking about business, or you're feeling guilty that you're not working, but then you're feeling guilty because you're not spending actual time with your family and your kids, because when you are, you're actually thinking about work. You're constantly strapped to your computer or your phone. Even if you do take an amount of time off or you go on vacation, then you feel, again, guilty, and then you work during that trip, and then you get back and you're like, I have so much to do and so much to catch up on, and you're in a hamster wheel. And so you are not actually unleashed from your business. You don't have the freedom that you want. The second piece is income. All of you are here for more money than a 9-to-5 can provide, a fuck you amount of money, an unreal amount of money to most people while having freedom. And then most of you don't have that, right? Most of you are like 3K months, 5K months, even 10K months. And 10K months in your business, which is really like 8K months because you have to pay taxes. And then after 8K, it's like, okay, well, what am I spending on the business, right? And then take home's like maybe 5K. And now you're not really at 10K months. So the amount of money that you want to make, you're not making. You convince yourself every year you will make that amount of money, but then you have to put in so much work and grind to even hit that number that, again, you're not creating freedom. And then the third thing is impact. And while some of you absolutely make impact, you're not making a bigger impact because you are tied to every single client experience. You're codependent in those relationships because of what we're going to talk about today, which is being unleashed. So next week, March 23rd through the 25th, I'm hosting Unleashed. Unleashed is a 3-day live business experience on how to be literally unleashed from your business. It's only $11 for all 3 days, plus the replays. Come live with me. I will be teaching you what I have learned to be fully unleashed, less codependent on my business, how to fully live your life in 3 days. You will never, ever, ever see your business, your freedom, your income, clients, like none of it. You will ever see the same after this. I am going to change your life. I thought for a very long time that if I just made more money, I would become free. I would have the freedom, I would have the impact, I would have the money. And I made 6 figures in 6 weeks, multi 6 figure years. I was still death gripping the shit out of my business, death gripping every single dollar. I was still in survival self, survival brain. I was hustling my fucking ass off. I was overweight, chronically stressed. I had adrenal fatigue. I had adrenal PCOS. I wasn't sleeping through the night. I was incredibly depressed and anxious all the time. And I had no life. Literally, I worked more back then than I worked ever. And I made the most amount of money. And I had to learn how to fully burn that down, that version of myself, that version of my business that was not working for me, was not giving me the life I wanted, to rebuild an unleashed version of breadwinner energy, an unleashed version of business. But you cannot be unleashed from your business until you are unleashed from your survival self. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you have not yet, make sure you get your ticket. It's only $11 for those 3 days. It's going to fucking change your life. It will change your life, because this is the thing. No amount of money makes you unleashed. When you're tied to your survival self, when you're tied to codependent relationships, when your nervous system is tied to safety at all turns, that money equals safety, work equals safety, hustle equals safety, hand holding every fucking client equals safety, until you break up with that, there is no amount of money that will fix it for you. And I was under the impression that more money was going to create safety, and it did not. It did not. I was probably worse, because I was so afraid to lose it. I was dependent on every single client, and every single client, like, paying and paying on time and showing up and doing the work and being like, oh my God, if they don't like me, then they'll stop paying even though we're under contract. And then if that happens, then I'm going to lose my whole business. Like, it was a fucking nightmare. And so until you are fully unleashed from this version of yourself, you can't actually be unleashed in your business. You will not have freedom. And after working with hundreds of women in the online space, whether it's coaching, whether it's being a service provider, literally didn't matter. There would be women that go back to 9 to 5s, women that quit, women that are burnt out, or women that are so strapped to their business and to their survival self that nothing they did in business actually changed the reality they wanted. So they would just keep calling in the same experiences. And it didn't matter if they were under 6 figures, over 6 figures, it still remained the same, that they would never be unleashed from their business until they were unleashed from their survival self. Now, over the last week, I was coaching one of my private clients who makes pretty good money. She's booked out on one-to-one. She's really good at her work. But we were talking about how she was like, I don't even have hobbies anymore. Like, I don't even know what I like anymore. And we were, talking through how this is like a redeveloping of what to do with your freedom when you are making more money, and how she was then strapped to, like, oh my God, if I take time off, because she had gotten a boob job, and she was sick, like, if I take time off, then my clients, like, what will my clients think? And like, will they be upset with me? Right. And then there's this layer that comes in of like guilt or shame around taking time off to take care of yourself, because of this, the dynamics that you've created with your clients, because of the way your business model is set up. And this was what really got me thinking about the way that I live my life now, the way that I run my business now versus the way that I ran it a year, 2, 3 years ago, are night and day. What I value today is night and day difference. And years ago, my number one driver in life was money. That was my number one driver. It was just money, 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 money. That was all I cared about. And I will never forget that my husband even said to me, it's literally all you care about. All you care about is money. And it really hurt, but it was true. And it was true because I felt like he didn't understand, because for me, it came from my survival self. It didn't come from greed. It didn't come from like wanting to be better than people. It didn't come from any of that. It literally came from survival of I never want to go back to being poor, to being on WIC, to not knowing how to pay my bills. And so in that though, it created a really unhealthy relationship with money, a really unhealthy relationship with work because of it. But now, what I value is literally time with my kids, time to focus on myself, to work out, to bake, to do the things that I enjoy. And it's also to show my children what it's like to not only have a business, right, that I love, a business that changes lives, but also what it's like to do that and also focus on putting myself and our relationships and our experiences above money, right? And believing that the work that I do that impacts lives will provide for us while we also get to have the life that we want. I get to show them what it's like to not be in survival, right? I grew up in survival. I grew up only knowing survival from my mother, which, right, that's what she had to learn. That's what she like learned and was instilled in her was like, if you stop working and you slow down, then it could result in, going back to these places of poverty. And so that was instilled in her, and she didn't instill it in me on purpose. It was just what happened, right? And so, because that was instilled in me for a very long time, like this fear and this scarcity around slowing down or around like enjoying life, that things like bad things would happen to you if you did, that was how I grew up. And then that was what I did as a mother in my oldest child's earlier age, Jesus Christ. But now that I have two kids and I'm older and I've gone through this massive death and rebirth, what is more important to me is experiences. Like literally being present with my children is what is more important, and showing them that I don't need to work 24/7, showing them what it's like to actually like live day to day, to do the things that I love, to do the things that I enjoy, to do the things that fulfill me, while also like being a parent who is not just like tied to survival, who is not just like, hurry up, we got to go, hurry up, let's get to the next thing, come on, let's go, hurry up. Like instead of being like that, being able to be very well grounded and regulated, and showing my children what it's like to be on time. Don't get me wrong, because not being on time is like my number one fucking pet peeve, but also like not everything in life is a rush, right? And it's also like the small things, like this last weekend, like making homemade pasta sauce with hidden vegetables in it for my children, and like taking time to really like make food and bake and like do things from a place of like, I enjoy doing this. And I used to think that I was the type of person that didn't like cooking or baking. Like when my youngest was born and like for her first few years of life, I not only didn't know how to cook, I wasn't interested in cooking, which is wild to say right now, because right now I cook almost every single meal. I cannot really stand eating out, mostly because I think that it's trash and I could bake it better. I bake literally for baking. I prep like weekly meals. Like I love cooking. I'm actually a really really good cook. And it's funny because like the women in my life, like my mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother, are excellent cooks. I mean like some of the best food. Like I have obviously dated people, and then my husband has like come home and like had my family's cooking, and he's like, oh my god, like I'm in love, like your family can cook, the food is seasoned. um so it's just funny to think that I was going to be a person who could not cook, and now looking at it from this place of like, actually no, I love cooking. It was just that I was in so much in survival, I literally felt like I couldn't slow down to do that, right? And because I was like working 24/7, I was absolutely exhausted to think about, oh my God, now I have to cook these meals. And so for me, I would skip meals, like literally for myself, because I'm like, I just have to be able to make sure that my kids are fed, and I'm doing that. But then they're like, I don't want to eat what they're eating. So then I wouldn't eat. Then I would skip meals and then wait till dinner. It was like a very bad habits tied to survival, right? Because I'd be rushing meals and skipping meals for myself. And yeah, I feel like I barely even tasted food like at certain seasons of life. Like, and I look back on those periods of my life when I made the most amount of money, and all I can think about is those periods of my life. All I did was work. All I did was work. Like I think back to, what did I do in my lifetime in those years that I made so much money? What did I experience? Couldn't tell you. I could not tell you. Yes, I went to Florida two different times, and those were like probably the best experiences of that time. We went on vacation and it was so much fun. Like I had so much fun on those vacations. But outside of those two vacations, I took a trip because my grandfather was in the hospital, so that was like a thing I had to, had to do. It wasn't like a vacation by any means. Um, and then I worked. Like I don't remember having like actual experiences. And now, sure, does that mean we didn't have experiences? No, we absolutely did. And I could like go back to my camera roll and like see micro experiences. But then I also think about too, like on the Florida trip, I remember specifically one of them. I was on my phone quite a bit on that trip. Um, and I was still posting on social media. And the thing that the point about it is that like I was still tied so very much to like the work, the grind, the hustle, the money, the clients, things versus like how to fully let go and not worry about clients 24/7 or think about like, oh my God, are they mad that I'm off? Are they mad that I'm on vacation? None of that, right? But now my life looks so different. Yesterday, I spent time outside with my kids and my husband, and we went for walks and we just went and did a bunch of activities. I literally left my phone at home for more than half the day, unleashed. Could not get a hold of me, didn't even have my phone. So then, of course, did I take pictures? No, I didn't. Did I create content for that I was having an experience with my family? No, I didn't. I didn't. And it is what it is. I have other photos and I can take other photos at other times. When last night after we grilled and I made smash burgers on our Blackstone, it's like my favorite meal ever. And then we took the kids out to go get ice cream. And we live in like a college town, like a semi-college town. Like there's a very, very large college here, but then there's also like minor colleges around. And we didn't realize it was like Fake Patty's weekend. So we went downtown to take the kids to get ice cream and it was insane. We decided to like come a little closer back out of downtown to go get ice cream somewhere else. Nonetheless, though, I did end up taking my phone in the car ride, and I did get a picture of that, right? But I don't put my kids on the internet because I think I just don't want to do that. I don't like the safety of that. Anyway, the point being is that I'm spending more time in experiences. Like now I literally plant and repot plants. Like if I told myself 5, 10 years ago, you have plants, you plant them, you repot them, you spend time outside without your phone, you take 2 weeks every single month with 0 calls on your calendar, guilt fucking free. You work out 6 to 7 days a week doing Pilates sculpt. And not only do you absolutely love it, you look forward to it. You cook almost every single meal. You bake because you absolutely feel like it. You prep food. You make homemade pasta sauce with from scratch with hidden veggies in it. And like I don't think I would believe that I had to fully be unleashed from my survival self to be able to calm my nervous system, to be able to not feel guilty and shame or anxious by going to live my life and have experiences. And the experiences I'm having, it's not like I'm taking a private jet to Italy for 3 weeks and even if I was, right, who cares? But that's not the point. The point is a lot of women don't even live in the day to day. A lot of you don't have hobbies. I'm like, what do you do for fun? You're like, I don't know. I work a lot. I really like my work. I'm a mom and a lot of my time is consumed by being a mom. I'm like, okay, but what do you do for you? And you're like, I don't know. I go to the grocery store once a week and like listen to my music in the car. And while totally relate, right, to having my own car ride with my music where I'm uninterrupted, what do you do for you? Like, what do you do that's just for you, that takes care of you, that nourishes you, that makes you happy, that fulfills you? And that is the piece of being unleashed that for me was like, if I'm not the best version of me and I don't feel fulfilled and I don't feel like I'm taking care of me, how am I going to take care of everyone else? How am I going to be really good at my work? How am I going to be good at business? How am I going to be good at being a mom, right? If I am strapped to every message and every payment and every launch, and I am so strapped to my business and the money and the work, and how that consumes me 24/7, how would I wouldn't have time for anything else. And I did it. I literally did it. I was so incredibly strapped to my business and my work and my clients and the money that I literally had time for nothing else. Like I was like, I don't even know how I could work out. I'm so exhausted by the end of my day because all I do all day is work and parent. Now I'm exhausted. Now I don't even want to work out. And if I would, I like before I was like forcing myself because I felt like I had to, where now it's like totally different. It's like, I want to do this. I enjoy doing this. It feels so good, but I'm also not running from a depleted body. Right. And that's another piece too, is like, I don't want to shame anyone here for not working out, because I spent years and years not working out because I was literally mentally and physically and emotionally depleted because I was running on cortisol 24/7. I was running on stress 24/7. Like my body was literally working out from just like running off stress. So much so that I couldn't even imagine working out. Like I was drained. Where now I have more energy because I'm not running, my body's not running on stress all the time, right? I literally sleep in. I don't know if you guys remember, I posted on the podcast, I think this was like summer of last year, 2025, how I would get up before my kids and spend those hours working. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I literally still do because I enjoy it. And then other days I sleep in. Like this morning, I didn't get up till 7. My kids get up between 7 and 8 now, which is incredible. Time change has like been chef's fucking kiss for that. I wish we never went back. But now I sleep in. Like sometimes that would be 6, sometimes it's 7. And again, that's still before my kids get up, if they're getting up at 7 or 8. So then I still do get a little work time in. But I also am like very mindful of like, okay, when am I going to get up? Because I want to go, like, I want to work on something in the morning. And when am I going to sleep in? Because I don't need to wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. every single morning, 5, 7 days a week, when I just don't have to, which then allows me at nights to stay up a little later, spend more time with my husband, right? And the reason I say all these very micro, small, specific examples of like, this could seem so minor to someone, like, cool, you wake up, you sleep in an hour more, right? Like, but for someone who has lived in survival for most of their life, for someone who is so tied and strapped to working, for someone who is so tied and strapped to every client and every single dollar, being able to sleep in, to take 2 weeks with no calls every single month guilt-free, to spend more time on yourself and your body and what you love and what you enjoy, and being outside and being present with your kids, and spending half of a day without your phone even in the same vicinity as you, is a night and day difference. Now, doing all of that though, while my business runs, while my business is making money, while I'm still getting clients signed and they're getting results. And they're still getting results. I want you to hear that. Like clients are still getting results. And that's what's very valuable to me is, am I making impact? Am I changing lives? Are my offers and my business and my model set up so that women are getting their lives changed while I am living my life while I am like living fully alive in color every single fucking day. I am not living for shitstorm to shitstorm to shitstorm, right? For me, ever since childhood, I was, you're so mature for your age. You're so responsible. Like being the person that always has their shit together. But you know what that actually resulted in? I never had a childhood. I never had a childhood ever. And then I grew up and I got married early, and then I had a baby really early, and then I started a business. By 23, I'm a mom with a business by 23 years old, right? Very little of my life was experienced. And then now I'm almost 33. I have 2 kids. I'm on my second marriage. I've been in business for 10 years, right? And now for the first time in my entire life, and this like literally makes me want to cry, I feel like I'm living. I feel like I'm getting to live life. Like my daughter and I, my youngest daughter and I, while my oldest is in her online school, my youngest and I are doing nails and doing spa days together and going outside and doing chalk and she can like count. We're starting to read. She knows colors. She knows like shapes, and she is incredibly smart, not even 3 years old yet, because we're spending the days doing those things together. And it's just, she gets to have the childhood. My kids get to have a childhood when I didn't. And now I get to go and do those things with them, to re-experience that. And there's no amount of money that can give you that. There is no amount of money that says, right, that's like worth taking that time for your children to not be able to experience a childhood, because all they're experiencing is an angry mom, a tired mom, an exhausted mom, an overstimulated, burnt out mom. And that was what I was. Overstimulated, burnt the fuck out, exhausted all the fucking time, tight ass pelvic floor. Then I developed chronic health issues from this. There is no amount of money. And now that energy will start to leak into your money, right? So you'll either avoid your bank account, or you'll death grip every single dollar. Your bank or your like income in business will be really high highs and really low lows. You don't know when you're signing your next client. You don't know what's coming next. So then your marriage will be like, okay, well, when did this stop being fun? Because now you're just coexisting or fighting all the time because you're just two people surviving in the same house and calling it a good week when no one loses their shit, but you're not experiencing marriage together and fun and play and dates and date nights and experiencing each other and having fun because you guys are both tied to survival. You're not the mother you pictured you would be. Or you're just can tell yourself like, I just would never be that kind of mom, like the Pinterest mom. I used to say that years ago, like I'll never be a Pinterest mom, but now I'm like fully blown a Pinterest mom because I like it and it's fun, and it's fun to give my kids those experiences. And don't get me wrong, I am not shaming anybody for the way that you mother. There has been many points in my life that I'm just trying to get everyone fed and bathed and keep them alive and not lose my fucking shit. And that was literally because I was in survival. And if that is you, you haven't had a hobby for 6 years, 7 years, 10 years. You keep telling yourself you're going to go back to the gym when things slow down. You're going to go, read more books. And when the kids get older, I'm going to do this. And, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. When the money comes, I'll do this and I'll do that. But how long are you willing to wait before you're actually going to live your life? Right? Because here's the thing. I know that being tied to survival also is like, well, I need to pay the bills. I need to pay the bills. Exactly. You need a business model that pays your bills, that makes impact while you are able to live your life. And that is what Unleashed does. That is what I'm teaching. I'm not teaching some rah woo woo bullshit that's like, just manifest it, just believe in it, just go live your life and the money will come. Fuck no. We need structure. We need grounded structure that actually brings in money, right? I'm not that fucking delusional. Well, also you get to live your life, and then also you're working on your survival self. Like I had a client recently, mind you, this client I don't know if she works a job. She doesn't come to our live calls. She only watches the replays. Okay. I had her DM me and say, by the way, my business is blowing the fuck up this month. Thank you so much, Tay. I truly believe it's from this work from Breadwinner Energy Academy. Someone said, it's 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, it's already changed. Like, this is actually fun. I wake up and want to do what I'm doing for work. Someone else said, this is the easiest fucking thing I've ever done before I had this conversation with you. I've been able to just like make these easy decisions, which I thought before were just massive. And I'm like, holy shit, these are orgasmic moments. Someone said, this is the most I've ever done in my business, and it's only been 2 weeks. Let's see, what else? What else? You are the best business coach for healers. You're the only person that actually makes sense of this work. Someone else says, unclenches that butthole fast. I've made more decisions in the last 4 weeks than I have in years. I'm really booked out as far as my one-to-ones, and then my event also sold out. Making money on my course. My monthly emails have grown 65%. Thank you so much. I legit want to hug you. This is what clients are saying while I'm living my life, okay? That's what I want to really nail home for you, is that these clients are having these experiences while I'm spending more time living in my day-to-day. Now, does this mean that I don't work? No, this doesn't mean that. It means I have an asynchronous business model that focuses on my time for me. It focuses on me being able to live, while also it focuses on getting clients results. It focuses on making more money without more of me. My clients, now this is another part. My clients don't need me to be strapped to their asshole to get a result. And if you're calling in clients that need you to be strapped to their asshole to get results, it's because you have some codependency and or some version of you that believes, if I am not the one with them 24/7 and we're not voice noting back and forth all day, every single day, and I'm not hand holding them through every single hard emotion, then I am not useful and or they will not get a result. And that is what is keeping you strapped to your business. And that is what needs to be cleaned up, because that is part of your own identity. That is not being a good coach. That is not being a good mentor or being a good guide. That is that you are codependent with your clients because you truly believe that is what you have to do in order for them to get results and or to be useful, okay? If this entire episode has been like, holy fucking shit, this is me. I've been in survival for so long. I have spent so much time not living my life, not being the mom I want to be, not having hobbies, not having the life I want. I keep telling myself, when I make more money or when this happens or when my business takes off, then I will. you need to be at Unleashed. It is $11. I am going to be giving you what I have clients pay thousands of dollars for in these 3 days. It will not be fluffy bullshit. It will not be anything you have ever experienced because I know what the fuck it's like to live in survival. I know what it's like to be strapped to my survival self and identity, and also being strapped to that version of myself while I made a fuck ton of money, burning down my entire business, my entire model, all my offers, firing my entire team, and rebuilding from the ground up, going through the most massive death and rebirth that I've ever experienced while being postpartum with my second child, while having health issues, and now being back to my pre-baby weight, feeling I am so like I do Pilates and Pilates Sculpt, weighted Pilates like 5, 6 times a week. And I feel so good. I feel strong in my body. I like yesterday, me and my husband went for a 2 mile walk slash run with the kids. And I ran for more than half of it after I did a 45-minute full body Pilates sculpt session. And I'm like, I feel so strong. And to be a mom that's out with her kids like fully like running and playing for hours on end and just having so much energy with my kids, unmatched. No amount of money can do that for me. And then in the morning, I made like a pancake bake. And then for the afternoon, I made the hidden veggies sauce for the pasta. And then at night, I made homemade smash burgers. Like just it's experiences of being fully like alive, being able to slow down and take time to nourish our bodies and to feel alive. It is something that I will never take for granted again. It is what is more important to me than the money. While also my business is very important to me, changing lives, showing other women what it's like to live out loud and live what it's like to live after you've been in survival, after you've been in narcissistic relationships, abusive relationships that have literally altered your brain chemistry, from moving past trauma and now being able to live again when you've spent your whole life in trauma. There is nothing in this world that matches to what it's like to be alive after all you've done is survive. And that is what I'm going to leave us with because I can feel myself getting teary. I just want women who've been through the fucking pits, who have been in trauma, who've been through hell, who only know hustle and grind and the next dollar to put a roof over your head, to live, to be alive, to have a lot of money and a lot of success and a lot of impact, while also going to live your life. And that is what I'm going to give you in 3 days next week. Unleashed, $11. Get your ticket. And as always, thank you for being here. Thank you for being in my community. I will never take you for granted. I love you guys more than you know. And I hope you have a fabulous rest of your week.
Out of my nose.